Reading this morning comes from Matthew chapter 9, verses 35 and 10 to 8. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." He called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to drive out spirits and to heal every disease and sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, who was called Peter, and his brother Andrew. James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew, the tax collector, James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions: "Do not go among the Gentiles or enter any town of the Samaritans. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. As you go, preach this message: the kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, and freely you give." The word of the Lord in the house of the Lord. There's a little more to that passage than we read today, and it has quite a bit to do with the disciples going out in different directions to help teach the people and bring Christianity to the world. These 12 men, they're going out there unarmed. Basically, God told them, don't even take an extra pair of shoes or an extra robe or anything. Don't carry any money with you. Just go the way you are and live with the people as you meet them, as you join with them, and you stay at their homes when they allow you. You go into the different towns. If they welcome you with open arms, stay and preach. But go to the people who need you. Go to the people who are poor, who don't have religion, who haven't already formed an opinion. We have to go after the core of the world, not just the people who are religious. Because when you don't go to a doctor if you're not sick, right? If you're not sick, you don't go see a doctor. So Jesus said, we need to go to people who need us. We need to go to people who need you and me to come and teach them about the blessings of God. We don't need to go to people who are Pharisee and who are well-known Jews and who have all their laws and all of that. We don't have time for that. Our time frame is very small. We have to go after the core, not just the people that we can talk to. Now, Jesus really had trust in these 12 men. The work he was sending them out to do was very important. He was building a church. He was building a religion. He was building a life. You know, he had a lot of faith in him, kind of like Gene has faith in me and letting me stand up here today. He really has a lot of faith, I got to tell you. But you'll notice that I didn't get mentioned in the program this morning. I told Maggie not to put my name in there because I was afraid nobody would show up. But it worked. It worked. It did. It really worked. So, can you imagine telling the disciples that he is going to give them all of his special powers? They were going to be able to go out and cure illnesses, make the deaf hear, the blind see, raise people from the dead. Now, why would he give all of this power to these disciples? Well, look at it this way. If you were going out someplace and you were going to go to something that was extravaganza, and you see a man teaching someone about God, and he puts on a demonstration. He puts on a demonstration of this person is very ill. He touches them, blesses them, touches them with God, and they are well. A lady comes up and she's deaf, hasn't heard anything in many years. They restore her hearing. The same thing with a person who's recently passed, and they can raise them from the dead. Now, if you were in this position, if you were there, if you saw this, and many times Jesus said, don't tell anyone. Well, you know what happens the first thing when you tell them, don't tell anyone? You got to tell a friend, because they won't tell anyone, and well, they'll tell a friend. He is spreading the word throughout the whole area of the remarkable things that God can do. And he is having his disciples go out and tell them what a great person God is and what a great love he has for us. And he's gaining the strength and he's gaining the support of these people who have no idea that God is even there. It's very difficult. And I keep praying for miracles. I mean, we all do. I was very fortunate to be involved in one. A lady came into a Wednesday night service that we were doing, and it was a healing service. And the first time she'd been there, she was a member of our church. She came in and she said, I have to tell you, I have been given no chance of surviving this cancer. It's in stage 4, and I'm only here because I need help from God. She came to the rail. Pastor and I both prayed for her. The next week, she came back. And she said, well, I need more. I need more. Help me. Please help me. She came to the rail again, and we prayed for her. We laid hands on her. The next week, she wasn't there. And we were concerned, but we had faith. We had to have faith, otherwise it doesn't work. The 4th week, she came back. And she said, I never believed I would hear these words, but my cancer is in full remission. Where did that come from? That came from him. He directs this. And as much as we can talk about it, we have to believe, and if we don't believe, it doesn't work. But I think we all can perform miracles. I think it is in every one of us that we can perform miracles, but we have to do it in full belief that this miracle is going to come about because we have prayed to God and asked for it. If you don't believe and you don't have full belief in the cure, it's not going to happen. And sometimes we give a little prayer and say, help me do this, help me do that. That's not the type of prayer that you want to give to Jesus if you really want his help. You have to be honest with him. You have to tell him what you've done, what you need to do, and give him the chance to cure you, and give him the faith that he will cure you. Now, I've been out the last several weeks. I've been here, and it's been a interesting couple of weeks. I've met a lot of people that that I hadn't seen before. And it was interesting that many of the people that I talked to, if even the word church comes up or God comes up, these people are open. These people are open. They want to hear about your church. They want to hear about your God. They want to find a church where they fit in. Now, I'm really happy to tell you that there's a lady here today with her husband that I met a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about business problems over in the new place where I was going to live. And she said, "Yeah, I'd like to know about your church." And I spoke to her about it, and we talked, and she says, "Well, I'll think about it." Well, I went back on another errand to get information of some things that I needed to do, getting our phones hooked up and stuff like that. And she said to me, "By the way, my husband and I are going to be in your church this week." And they're here. Jackie and her husband, Jet. How do I get that wrong? I had your card. Your husband's... So nice to have you with us today, and it's wonderful that you came. And unfortunately, you're not going to hear the real professional this morning because he's got the day off. But you can understand where we're coming from. If you talk to people and they give you the indication that they would like more information, you've got to pass it on to them and tell them about their church. Don't be afraid of it. And God told the disciples, you're going to go out and you're going to meet people. Don't worry about what you're going to say. The Holy Spirit will be there with you. And He'll do the talking. And believe me, He does. He takes over and He does what He wants to hear. He'll tell you without any hesitation. But you know, there's many things that we don't observe, and we don't realize it at times of the miracle that God does for us. Think about it. You're driving down 95 and some idiot cuts out in front of you and almost smashes your car, but he just missed. You never know when something like that's going to happen. Do you think God wasn't there and said, hey, keep these two guys apart. I need this person. Or you've gone someplace that you really shouldn't have gone to. It was not really fitting. I went to a Hanukkah party. Why would I be in a Hanukkah party? I don't know. But my wife was working for a company, and her boss was Jewish and invited us to his beautiful home up in the Hollywood Hills. Come to a Hanukkah party. And a lady there said to me, what do you do for a living? At that time, I was a grocery clerk for one of the local grocery stores. And she said, why don't you go to Thrifty Drugstore and see, they have a great policy there, a great manager training program. Well, the next week, Ellie said, aren't you going to Thrifty Drug to check out this thing? I'm going, I was going to go play tennis, but okay. I went down there, and on the way down, we passed the Thrifty Drugstore, and I said to my friend, I'm going to go work in that store. And guess what? I went to work in that store. And from that store, I went to a new store, and from the new store, I went to a bigger store. And from there, they took me downtown and put me in the office and made me a buyer for 365 stores. Now, how did all this happen? It didn't happen because I'm so great. It happened because God said, okay, we need you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. He sets these things up. And if you look in your life, and I told you before, look back. Step back and see who was the initial person that put you on the right path. That is what these disciples were going to do. You know, finding the small church. Why are we all here in Fort Mohave? This isn't Garden part of the world. It's nice, I love the people. I love being here. But how did we all get here? I came through California, bought a condominium on the river 22 years ago, 25 years ago, and lived there. And we were here every weekend, and we got to really like it. And then we bought a house on the golf course. Then we moved from there. Then we moved and met Jean. My wife said, I want to go back to church. So we started coming here. And he's been here, and he brought us in. And I'll tell you, working with him is a wonderful, wonderful experience. I love this church. I love the people. I love our God. And it was only a miracle that brought me here. You're putting up with me because of that. And I thank God that I get to know all of you. You're so special. This church, I keep telling you, you walk in the door and somebody wraps you in a coat of love. They make you feel at home. They love having you here. You are all God's disciples, all of you. When you leave here, you never know. You're going to meet a waitress working today. She'd love to have Sunday off. She can't get to church, but she's really like to come back to church. You're going to talk to them, and they're going to talk to you, and they're going to get their taste of God. Their little taste of God is going to come from you saying, well, we just came from church, and it was a wonderful service, and it's been nice. There's so many things that I could say good about this church and about you people. But you have to really become part of it before you realize just how important each and every one of you are to this church. You make this church go. You make this church work. I mean, we have Gene. He's the best. We couldn't ask for a better pastor. You'll never find one. But he is just God's agent. It's God that makes us all work and make this church work. So I'm here today to tell you that I go out and I brag about you all over the place. I tell everybody I meet what a great church we are, what a great group of people we have, and how lucky we are. We have a food bank, and we have this, and we have a potluck, and we have garage sales, parking lot sales a couple of times a year. We give money to the school next door. We do money for this. We give that. We work the Christmas baskets. And people go, your church does all that stuff? I said, yeah, we do. And you know something? We never have to ask for money. We don't say, we need to raise $500 for this or $500. We tell you what we want to do, and it just shows up. You make all of this happen. You make all of this happen. And God thanks you and blesses you for all these wonderful things that you do. And I do too. And I thank you for welcoming me into this church. So, we have to take the time and realize that we are the disciples that he sends out into the world. We are the core. We are the base. We are the part that makes it work. And you are our disciples. You are our strength. You are our wisdom. You are our... Don't tell anybody about our wonderful church. Okay? Don't tell anybody. Jackie, I don't want you running around telling everybody. So, but we welcome being here, and we welcome our God. And we thank you. And we pray to God. Say, God, Father, thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for bringing this wonderful group together. No one could have organized it better than you. And we thank you for our leader, our pastor, our friends, and we thank you for your many blessings. Amen.